Lillah, alhamdulillah, ahmaduhu wa asta'inuhu wa astadihi wa astaghfiruhu wa umminu bihi jalla wa ala wa la akfuruhu wa ashhadu an la ilaha illallah wa ashhadu anna Muhammadan abduhu wa rasuluhu. As-salahu bil huda wa dinil haq liyudhiruhu ala din kullihi walau karihal mushrikun. By the English meaning, O my sustainer, thou hast indeed bestowed upon me something of power, and has imparted unto me some knowledge of the inner meaning of happenings. Originator of the heavens and the earth, thou art near unto me in this world and in the life to come. Let me die as one who has surrendered himself unto thee, and make me one of the righteous. The brother said, By Allah, most certainly has Allah raised thee high above us, and we were indeed but sinners. He said, this is Joseph, no reproach shall be uttered today against you. May Allah forgive you your sins, for He is the most merciful of the merciful. This is one of our favorite statements from the Quran, both of them. Both of them are from Surah Yusuf. And so, during Ramadan, we have really concentrated on Yusuf and his brothers. Because when the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam arrived in Mecca, they said, you're an honorable man, and of course you've taken over the city, what will you do with us? He said, I say the same thing to you as Joseph said to his brothers, La tatraba, no reproach this day. And we find that there are many very beautiful statements by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in Quran, but these ones about Yusuf and his brothers kind of stick to the heart right now. Why? It is because the idea of concealing the faults of each brother or each group or each organization. As an example, I might have mentioned some other groups by not derogatory names, but names that they might not have liked, like muck-mucks and what have you. Okay, so I 100% apologize for that. You know why? It says don't revile those things that they worship, least they out of ignorance revile Allah. You know, so the Quran tells us it don't make no difference what they worship. Don't make offensive statements, gestures, or attitudes toward their idols or their. Now, when you get to the Kaaba, you're going to destroy all the idols. They can't have, right? But there's no sense talking about them. The other thing is concealing your brother's faults, overlooking your brothers. In order to get where we believe that we need to go today, we have to learn how to overlook each other's faults. We have to, because nobody's perfect. If you're looking for perfection in nature or in people, you might be disappointed. But if you're looking for beauty, hey, you might be on a roll. Because there's beauty all out here, but not perfection. So perfection you find in the Anbiya, perfection you find in things that are ultimate, like Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. That's perfection. That's perfection. That's the highest of the high. That's why we glorify Allah, because Allah is perfection. Allah is everything. And the word does not even describe Allah. But for the human being, you can't look for no perfection. In the human being got too many things pulling at him. And he has to struggle against the great monster, the shaitan, Iblis, the whole crew. And each crew is skilled in what they do. Iblis is skilled in what he do. The shaitan is skilled in deception. He's good at it. And he's daunting at it. He's meticulous at it, right? This guy, or that whatever he is rigorous in trying to get their point across. Persistent. The Quran says that he's persistent. That means this guy is serious. Today I want to talk about, in speaking to our brothers, technically this goes out to our website, and of course it goes out to Facebook, but it's not mainly for us. This one is mainly for our brothers in Iran, because they wanted an analysis of what's going on here. Now, I call what's going on here Zionist productions. Everything that's going on in America right now is the result of Zionist productions. It was a good book years ago by a black professor up in New York. I'll think of his name in a minute. He wrote a book called Empire of Their Own. Empire of Their Own. That was the let's say the Jewish control of Hollywood. But in this case, it's not the Jewish arm, it's the Zionist arm. Those that stick close to perpetuating a 100% Zionist agenda. Zionist productions needed a star in their production. And they studied and they looked around and they found who was good at reality TV, because that's what we have. This is reality TV. Who's good at reality TV? Who's good at managing chaos? So much so that his favorite line is, "You're fired," something like that. Well, what's the main thing he's been saying to generals, to staff, to everybody that come close to him? They can't stay too long. You're fired. That's it, right? This is Zionist productions. We're going to get at the root of all of this, because we call this cinematic evolution. Cinematic evolution means that if you would have to be a kid, but in the movies we used to watch, all those great adventures and sword fighting pictures and all that, and great attacks, they used to say cast, when they showed the flash of it, the trailers they call it now. When you went to the movies and the next movie, that movie gonna be on next week, they'd have the trailer for the coming movie, and it would say cast of thousands. And they'd have a cast, all the people running, jumping up and down. It would be a cast of thousands of people. There's people about Indians running around getting killed, and the cowboys and all that, or Hercules and all that. They would have a cast of thousands. Now, it's a cast of millions. But we refer to what's going on right now is Zionist productions. That they have technically It's a big movie. Now you say, well, how could they do that? Well, now, I want you to think of all of the questionnaires they send around, all of the polls they take, right? All the university studies about America, Americans, about this and that, right? So that big computer down in a hole somewhere got the attitude and the concept of the American people down pat, right? They got them. They know what moves them, right? And now it's not just that the computer got them, but their best psychologists, sociologists, and scientists are employed by those big companies, right? And universities to study that and to advise, right? You can't go down to the corner and say, oh, Mr. Psych, I got a problem, therefore I want you to help me. You can get a mediocre psychologist, but if you want their best, boss man got them. Boss man got the whole thing. You can see us all. If the stock market, how's the stock market behaving? Well, the stock market, when this stuff first started happening, I mean, it was going 1,000 a day. It was in the red. Then, who controls the stock market? Well, how do you manage the stock market, right? What's happened recently? Well, we had 2008 and stuff, and we let the stock market follow its natural trend down, right? And it wound up at 600. So let's see. We control the Fed. We control all the flow of money. So we're going to give it $3 or $4 trillion. And then they told everybody in the stock market, don't worry, no matter what happened, we're going to bail this boy out. So all of a sudden, with no reason, with bad news after bad, I'm telling you, last few weeks, the bad news, daily, enough to drive stock market down to 200-300. That's how bad it's been. But why is it up 27,000? Because they control the stock market. They always have had influence in the stock market, the big folks, but they control it 100% now. They can print money, they can do anything. And who controls it? The big banks. Who are the big banks? Gold, right? Who's the big companies? Goldman Sachs. Who are those people, right? It's all controlled and manufactured. That's what it is. So we call what's going on, all the streets running around, people running around in the streets with no agenda. It's controlled. Why? Here's what we're going to do. We're going to stage a good old-fashioned lynching on TV, murder on television. We're going to have a white police, right? Now we got Watts Riot. We got every uprising in America. What caused those uprisings? Well, they go back and they'll find that almost every one of them was the police doing whatever they do to the people, right? So if that police, now, how they going to get it? It's too simple. How they going to get that to happen? Well, the Zionists, not only the police Zionists, like everyday police, work with these police here. And who has all the records of everybody? You can't get a record of the police doesn't abuse nobody because they say you can't have it, right? Well, they're going to fix it so you can get it, but who has it? Well, the government has it. And who else has it? Well, the Zionists have it. The Israelis have it. So what would they say? They would go through the record and they want to hire somebody to do a job. Well, let's go through the record, right? If you want to hire somebody for a job and you got all the records, and you go through the records. then you hire that man to do a job that he would love to do. He would love to do it. This is for your people, the white people. This is for the great police departments. All this, you get a chance to kill a nigga on TV, and you ain't gonna do no whole lot of time. And then we're gonna send you off to Australia after you get out of the penitentiary after spending 3-4 weeks there, right? And you're gonna live happily ever after, whatever it is, 3-4 weeks in jail or a month, 5 years, you're a young man. We're gonna send you off with so many million. What? Is there anything to them? Absolutely not. They can print it. They can have the printing press cranking, and they need, how much you need? 5 million. Right? There you go. Cut it up in pieces and give it to you. They can do that. They do that all the time. When this virus going around, they say, okay, nobody go to work. And then they could just print the money to pay everybody, right? To go buy the stuff from the store, from the stores. They got Safeway, they got Giant. All the giants and big people gonna make money. They're gonna close out the little people, right? The little people, we can't have y'all go. But we're gonna pay you anyway, you can go on. It don't make no difference to them. Because they can print the money, right? And they got it working now where the money does not lose value. Usually when you print that much money, it loses value. It's inflation. There's no inflation right now. It's not losing it. Who can do that? They can. That means it's totally controlled. Okay, now, cinematic evolution means that they can arrange an environment based on their resources, which are unlimited resources, right? And they can arrange the people. Okay, we're going to kill a man on TV. The people are going to rise up. We're going to have our people ready all over America, right? People, you don't know them. I don't know them people, right? And they're going to be there. And soon as this happened, they got an agenda, which is no agenda, right? Do you ever notice out of the times we've been out there, one time the people came with a little camera, sometime a personal guy would come with a little camera. But the media, what do they do? What did the lady do the other day? Turned off her camera because she was trying to talk, and what we were saying was going into her stuff where they could hear it. It's, oh no, click, turn it off. Have you ever seen anybody from the news? Do you think what we're saying is interesting? Do you think the people think that what we're saying is interesting? Well then, the news media, suppose I got out there and I was dancing and doing the splits and I had a red hat on and some green shoes, right? Where would I be? TV, right? I'd be on TV. I'd be at the Channel 5, whatever, all the stuff they got. CNN, A&N, MSNBC, I'd be there with them. But we got a message, they don't want to hear that message. That message, they don't want to hear. It's as though there was a big meeting somewhere and they told people what to print. I mean, like, okay, what to copy, what to record, as though somebody told them. Because we done been there at least 5 times. And nobody decided that it was interesting. And sometimes, as soon as we get there, they start playing the drums and walk right in front of us and then come around the block again and beating the drums, right? It's ridiculous. One thing about it It's not haphazard and it's not accidental. Somebody could say it is. People watching might think, oh, this is accidental. To us, it's not accidental, right? It's high-class theater. And as long as the people don't get our message, they can run that theatrics until the cows come home. Because nobody's aware that they're participating in a stage play. They're participating in a big movie, in a big production. And everybody in the production have a part to play. You don't have to have each person, this is your part, that's your. All you have to do is have in each city 4, 5, 6 people to manage the flow. Then you give them a support mechanism, right? To make sure they come, you bring them water, bring them hot dogs, right? You make sure the people are going to come, right? Oh, it's going to be a hot day. So wonder they didn't have fans out there and umbrellas when it gets too sunny. But they got to make it look some kind of real. I'm telling you. Now, when we're out there, who's listening? There's a few regulars. And they might appear to be very friendly. They might be friendly. We say maybe 50% is friendly, 50% are paid to be there, right? But if they're managing a stall, like our stall is right over there with water, you say, oh, great. You get that maybe they're put there. And they're monitors, they're whatever they are. That's what they do. We got to monitor the thing. And so the production goes on. Now, in science fiction management, which we've been psychologically into science fiction management for a long time. It was way back before doing strategic management under conditions of repression. That was far enough. You know, we had to arrange and practice strategic management under conditions of repression, so it became so good that we could make agents expose themselves all over America. And this exposition went all over, basically all over the world, from South Africa to Canada to everywhere. We know how effective it was by what comes to us. We know how it's working by the reports that we get. They don't write a report and say, but they act out what they're told to do. Once you gain so much experience, so much history, you know how to read the messages. They don't know they're sending you a message, but they're sending you a message. Why? Because you know how to read their mail. Yeah, you know how to read their message. You could tell what the orders are. You could tell everything is too clear. Okay. All of us remember this right here. Protracted struggle, number 1. Destabilizing, number 2. Temporary transformation, number 3. Organizing unity of opposition, semi-consolidation. Step 4, regional vision. Number 5, victory. Okay. This article appeared in 16 newspapers around the country. This about July 2009. American Shiites reach crossroads. This is a report on the program that happened up in Dearborn, Michigan. It was up there a few years. But they have my picture here. They have Soon as this appeared, the brothers in the Muslim Congress start acting funny. Because soon as this appeared, people who are collaborating with the system inside, right, went to the ulama and the other guys, so much so that last time we went right over there in downtown, wherever that was, right, there was not one Sunni there, right? That was at the Iranian program. This one was mostly Indo-Pakistanis and all of that. But they all the same, one controls the other, and you know what I mean. It ain't no big deal. But American Shiites reached the crossroads, then they have me here. So that gives them the ability to go to the board and say, they got these Sunnis, like, in other words, the white man know what he's doing. He put me here, da 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 da, and they know I'm not a Shia, right? They got to, and they already got it set up. They making the people think that those people are representing us, but they don't. And pretty soon the brothers who are friends of mine start acting funny. They start acting funny. It's not a fault of their own. They're not as deep as we are. You can't expect them. The people act on a level that they acquire. You see what I mean? The people act on a level they acquire. That's all. The people here, do you notice that the more you're active, the more you say, oh, that's actually, and it happens almost every day if you're around here, right? Yeah. It happens almost every day. I heard it, but I didn't think it was real. But around here, your eyes be busting open all day, every day. That's actually real. That happens, right? And then sometimes, you believe it or not, to me, it's not old, but it's normal. And then imagine after a while, you get the game on how to manipulate. The first thing Von Klaus would say, do not attack your enemy the same way over and over. He'll adjust to your pattern, right? He'll adjust to your warfare, right? They come at me over and over again, almost the same way, but it's actually a multiplicity of ways, but it's happened so long, you can forecast, you can predict, you can anticipate what they're going to do. Why? Longevity. Longevity is wonderful in movement because you get a chance to recognize the value of certain things. How long does it take to learn how to ride a bicycle? How long does it take to fly an airplane? How long does it take to defend yourself from the enemy, the government, as far as movement is concerned, right? Okay, you learn how to defend yourself. In martial arts, they got black belt, then they got 1 dan, 5 dan, some say they go up to 10, right? So once you get the game, you still got evolution in there. You're getting higher and higher all the time. You see what I mean? Okay, so the people act on what they've been exposed to. That's all they can do. They can't do any more than that because they don't understand that. In what we're doing, we had to postpone a lot of things. First, strategic management took a while. Then the people get a chance to see it and understand it. And whatever, whether they like it or not, it works. So you can say what you want. Because it's happened 100 times over. And you can flip a coin and say, I'm going to do this, this, that. And then they look at it. That's what happens. Why? Because you've studied that. Okay, but now, the dilemma now is this science fiction management. It's time for it. But we have to do it in a way to where we maintain credibility. In other words, we have to move the people up step by step. You can't, I don't care how much you love them and want to save them, you can't run them up the hill. You got to start them off walking up the hill and then set them down and give them a little rest because they're going uphill. All this is uphill, right? You got to let them rest a little bit. Then, okay, buddies, let's go and walk them a few more 100 yards and take a rest, right? And if you do it right, pretty soon they'll be up so high, they'll be able to see the landscape. The higher you go, the higher the landscape, the higher things will be. And everything becomes exposed. The valleys, the rivers, the lakes, all of that become exposed because you've taken them up gradually, you've taken them up systematically. And it's just like going to school, to grade. You go to grade 1, then you go to grade 5 later on, then you go on up. Pretty soon you got a PhD. Suppose in the first grade you showed the kid all the books they was going to have to read before they get out of school. They'd faint. They'd pass out, right? They would pass out. They'd finish. I got to read them, and it's all in the language of the books. Parapsychology, da-da-da-da-da. They don't even know what it is, right? Not in the first grade. They don't know what it is. So this is the thing about education. This is part of our dilemma. Although we're in an emergency situation, we have to have, I would call it accelerated learning. If you believe it or not, the CIA, boy, they good at teaching people accelerated learning. They teach them dialects of Arabic. You see what they teach them everything, and they know this is a Syrian dialect, that's a Saudi dialect, and they know it. And they got a teaching method where they can teach. You know, you said, man, this guy must have been speaking Arabic all his life. They got an accelerated learning thing. They got a course where you could, all of a sudden, you go to regular Arabic. I went to different Arabic studies, and we had one course that was accelerated learning, a 3-month course, a summer course, in '87 down at ISNA. It was a good course, but you just run right through it, lesson, and you got an overall good view of Arabic. Shoot, when I got back to California, I just went right down and started going to UC Berkeley, you know, the Arabic classes, because it was fast. And I got a good overview and all of that. But I had to go take a slow course, you know what I mean, where you, what they call it, where you monitor classes. And the teacher was a friend of mine, so I just monitored classes and took it slow. And then if you stay off for 2 weeks, you done forgot all of it. Man, how I forget all of that? You know, but that's what you do. But still you have an overall view. And, okay, now, science fiction management and simulation. We talked the other day about, by the way, I'm going to do this again. When the brother called, I'm going to do this right now again, the one that I'm supposed to be doing for them. Simulation. Simulation is when we come under constant, not attack, but approached by the government. And then they lay off. Like we said they did over here, you know. They put a car out here, they do that. So they want you to focus on that. You know, all the stuff they do in Oakland, that's a diversion. All the arrests, all the harassment. Look at the people. Why do they do what they do? Why do they say the stuff they say, it's insanity, right? It don't make no sense. You know, your father sold you into slavery, and I'm the only one in the family got the tapes of the family history, and you could tell this. And all the family knows that. Here's an idiot, not an idiot. They are kind of idiots, yes, they are. They are idiots, but they've been misled. Okay, but we told those idiots, just like Joseph told him, the shaitan got between you and made you do that. May Allah forgive you. I definitely overlook it. La tatraba. That's one of our flyers from way back. La tatraba. No reproach. Don't worry about it. The things that they say and do is ridiculous, right? Why? They want to get our mind and get us and keep us in Oakland, fighting over that masjid, right? We consider the masjid in Oakland and all of that property is revolutionary property, and it's a base area. And if you're fighting a revolutionary struggle, or let's call it an evolutionary struggle, sometimes you abandon base areas, right? If you got a big army focused on your base area, you don't stay there and fight it out with a big super army, right? You abandon it because your style is guerrilla warfare, right? If you're fighting guerrilla warfare, psychological guerrilla warfare, think about it. Would you let them imprison your psychic in Oakland, lock you up in Oakland, prevent you from all of this, right? Where your mind is there getting back property, or they sell property. You get all of that back when it's time, right? You don't have to waste your time. I'm telling you, but they don't understand, so I don't care whether they understand or not. Oakland's a base area. You think I'm going to sit up worrying about Oakland while the whole world is under attack? Think if we was in Oakland, right? We wouldn't be getting out to the people. We wouldn't be monitoring what have you. We see what they're doing in Oakland, but they're doing the same thing in Oakland they've always done. Mislead the people, misguide the people, misdirect the people, and if they go out to have a demonstration, they go out and get the people flash bombed and everything else by arguing with the police, throwing and breaking windows, right? And the people, by the time they get the people settled down, they done already caused all the trouble. Psychological guerrilla warfare worked. It's worked for us. Okay. I read this and I read other things because I want people to understand that there are certain special things going on. This might have been 2011. Protracted struggle, destabilization, right? Temporary gains. We all know we done went over it 1,000 times. But eventually, right, it's going to lead to semi-unity, consolidation of action. And all of that happened. Strategic alliance. Iran, Iraq, Syria, strategic alliance. And Russia. On the peripheral is China. And all of that. Now let's get down to the mistakes and what they intended to do. This production was set in motion because of some global events. One of the main global events was not only the Middle East, But China and okay. Let's take China first. If you notice, after a few years ago, when China came out at the 20th Congress, whatever it was, and they laid out what they was going to do, you know. Now, this thing about Chinese characteristics and all of that, it's not new. It's been happening a long time. It's been in the literature a long time. But when you heard it, sometimes you felt like you was hearing it for the first time. Well, some people was hearing it for the first time. Socialism with Chinese characteristics. We liked it because the Islamic movement with Negro characteristics, with colored characteristics. When you look at it, it don't look like socialism. It looked like capitalism, modified capitalism. But when you look at it closely, you say, wait a minute. In 40 years, Chinamen ran a big game on the U.S. Nixon went to China. Oh, we just love y'all. Sure you love us. You mean after Korea and all of that? We come in and kill all of you Americans, right? So you love us now? Well, we love you too, right? Pretty soon, all the factories in the U.S. closed down, and they wrote books on it. Deindustrialization, all in the 80s of America. So all the companies closed down here and they went to China. When they went to China, China's production, they was just on their little roll. And China started picking up, and China bust on the scene. And when America looked at it, they went into a panic. First, they realized that Chinese had demanded transfer of technology. Usually with the countries, they don't give transfer. They'll have you produce the stuff, but you're not going to get the technology, no transfer of technology. When I was in South America, they had all kind of American cars. They call it assembled. They would assemble Chevys down there. They'd send all the parts from here, and they would assemble them down there, just like a erector set or something. But they wouldn't make them from Jump Street, where you have the technology to produce a Chevy from the ground up, right? You gotta go get the rubber, you gotta forge the plastic, you gotta have all the machinery. But if you just assemble the parts that they made here, right? You don't have the technology. The Chinese said, no, you gotta give us the technology. So they gave the Chinese the technology. I mean, it's all kind of stuff. All of a sudden they look up and they said, these Chinamen is bigger than us. Technically they are. Something like that. They bigger than us, right? So, that's a few years ago, now they mad. They look at the Middle East. Who hated what was going on in the Middle East? Obama, as slow as he was, right? And those Democrats was making peace with Iran. And you could read the newspaper every day, right? Netanyahu and Saudi Arabia was having fits, right? You can't do that. And when you ain't never heard of an Israeli coming over here and going before the Congress and insulting the President of the United States. Right? And just insulting them. Yeah. Okay. So now American policy is hitting big skids. Now, they done stole the election in 2000, hanging chads and all that. So they know how to, you know that the elections don't mean nothing because they can steal whichever election they want. So, okay, here's what we got to do. We got to put somebody in there that is arrogant enough and stupid enough to do exactly what we tell them. Right? And it's only going to cost you a few $1 billion. And he would love to be president. He likes acting, just like he liked acting in, You're Fired. He liked that. And he's trained to do that. Right? He's trained. Like Ronald Reagan, they say he was a good president. You know that fool, all he was doing? He was acting the part of a president. He was a B actor in the old days. You ever see any of the old Ronald Reagan? Oh, Ronald Reagan was a B actor. But a B actor, he's trained in acting. So he act like that. There's a script. You're the president of the United States. These are the Russians, and they're bad. You act like they're bad, then you're good, right? You just act like it. He acted the part. He acted even after he had went crazy. Because after they was going to do the Article 25, whatever they call it. It wasn't but a year or two after he left the presidency, Nancy Reagan came on and she said, Ronnie is out there and we can't reach him. That means Ronnie is gone. That boy got whatever he had, Alzheimer's, or, them type of things. She said, Ronnie's out there and we can't reach him. That means that boy, he was gone. He was gone when he was the president. One time they had a meeting and they said, well, who are you? He said, I'm McFarland. Well, who's that? I'm the Secretary of, whatever he was, Secretary of State. Oh, okay. Now I ain't remembered. Okay, but anyway, this stage full of actors and part players, they have to have this man that's playing the part of the president. He has to do a lot of stuff and he has to be different than other presidents. They have an emergency. What's the emergency? China is rising real fast. They have the whole Middle East policy. It's falling apart. It's done fell apart because we have Iran. They have Iraq, which one white speaker had said, Saudi Arabia is excellent at breaking up everything, and Iran is good at coming and picking up the pieces. And that's what they did. So they said, we got to fix this. So they put together a package that they thought might have a chance of working. They put an actor there, and he has to act like a president that don't care nothing about it. I don't care nothing about this. And he's got to have a stupid style. His stupid style is, I'll scare you to death, but if anybody say boo, I'll break out and run another way. Right? You can look at him. He talked that trash. That's his style. If he can bluff you or scare you, right? You'll be forever in a conundrum, or whatever they call it. But if so who you talking to, sucker? Right? So they played around with Iran in many cases. Iran said, no, homeboy. And they sent their drone over there to cross into Iranian airspace, and they shot it down. It wasn't no poor drone. It was a rich one. They sent their other drones over there. This is in 2012. Remember, they captured American drones flying to spy on people, big ones. They landed the drone. The Americans said it crashed. The Iranians put it on the video. They said it didn't crash. Here it is taking off from Kuwait somewhere. And here it is landing right here. And you'd see the Iranian airspace, they were landing right there, all the Iranian signals and signs on the plane. They landed at our airport. And then they said, this is the original, right? Then they showed you a whole line of copies. Reverse engineering. So that was 2012, but Iran is up there now, way up there. And they had to be on a roll to be able to make it land, to cross into the signals, to cut into their stuff, right? They just studied and keep studying, and you find, remember, there's always a spot they didn't miss. That's the spot you go through, right? There's always one, because they're human beings. They can't cover everything. How you go in there, and that's it. So anyway, they're in a pickle, the American economy. Chinaman's been caught up with them, but most people say they didn't pass them, the GDP. They whisper it, but everybody knows that China done passed the U.S., you know what I mean? China technically is number one. Okay, so that's the American ego, but that's not what they mad at. They mad at what they was counting on. If we send them all of this technology, they're gonna have a Chinese middle class. And when they become a middle class, they're gonna go for democracy. Y'all probably done heard that stuff. They're gonna want freedom and all of that stuff, right? Well, just like Mahbub Bani said, he said, freedom of choice. He said in China, 40 years ago, you didn't have no choice of what you would wear. You wore a Chairman Mao suit, that was it, right? He said, now you can wear anything you want. He said, now you couldn't go in and out of China. He said, now 120-something million Chinese go outside of China, and 120 come back, right? They don't do that nowhere from them old Soviet bloc. People still running away from countries even today, right? You can't send, suppose you had an African country, you send them over here for the Olympics. Maybe they have all them nicknames, right? They got Africans down there in Mexico trying to get up here. Of course, you don't have a chance. You know, you just don't have a chance. The dictator takes all the money. So the dictators in Africa are, if the dictators here are bad, which they are, and in Europe, the dictators in Africa are different because they're not like the old-time chiefs that were educated to help their people, like Botswana. You ever heard how good Botswana is doing? You know why it's doing good? Because the first president, just like the movie, the first presidents and now the son of the first, they were educated and trained to be kings of their people. And the king was there to help the people. He lived just a little better, but he didn't live off in the woods nowhere in a big house where, you know, away from, he lived right there. He had, if you had 3 cows, he might have had 15 or something, right? But he was your king. When you wanted help, you go to the king and tell him, I need help, you know what I mean? Or go to the witch doctor, that's what they call him, the medicine man, and you need help. You didn't probably had to pay no money. You might have dropped a little something in the box and all that. So they were trained to help their people. That's why Botswana was different. In the other countries after colonialism, they had non-traditional They had dictators, they had thieves, most of them, right? They ex-colonels in the military or the British or the French, right? All those people. And when them bums become presidents or rulers, shoot. If they drive it down the street and the little baby is fixing to put a little piece of corn or something in their mouth, they'll stop and jump out of them Grand 600 Mercedes-Benz and snatch it out. That's a threat to my rulership, and snatch it out of the little baby's hand. In other words, the white man will leave you a little handful of corn, but the Negroes, they take it all. They ain't leaving you nothing, because they was trained like that. So you don't get the best of the best, you get the worst of the worst. Anyway, now here we are. We got China that's got them off balance, right? We have the so-called Middle East. Iran is out of pocket, right? And it's growing. It is the hegemon of the region. That's what it is. And it ain't by itself anymore, remember? There it is. Now, who is this around? Iraq? Syria? Iran? That's just first stage. Then across the thing, we got Yemen and all of those. And then there's Bahrain. And then there's Qatif, the eastern provinces of Saudi Arabia, where most of the oil is. That's the Shia area. Okay. The U.S. is in a panic. And they're pressured by the Zionists. Netanyahu is telling them, we can't stand that, what's going on. We want something better, and we want it now. How do you know that? Soon as Trump gets into power, you always look at who benefits. Who benefited for him coming to power, right? Let's move the embassy to Jerusalem. You want to slaughter Palestinians? Go ahead. They take the money from Palestinians, the little money that they was getting from the UN and all that, they cut it off. They just cut it off. That's brutal. They cut it off from the Palestinians and added more to the Yahoo. It's terrible. And then they moved the embassy from Tel Aviv to Jerusalem. They did everything that Netanyahu wanted. Right? Simple as that. So who benefits? Netanyahu. Who hated it? Who's beginning to work with the Israelis? Saudi Arabia, Emiratis, right? They getting friendly with you couldn't do that a few years back. Okay, so now, here's what they got to do. We got to hire somebody. We got to get a plan of action, and we got to get busy. And y'all can remember, we said as soon as Trump got in there, this is Hitlerianism. But that's where they're moving. They're going to try to insinuate Donald Trump in there. They're going to start disturbances inside of the United States, right? They're going to start them along the fault lines that already exist. That's what they're going to do. Okay? We're thankful to Allah that Hitlerianism flunks the case. They won't be able to do that. Why? Because Donald Trump is a bigger fool than they thought. Poor execution. They failed on all execution, everything. Number one, they failed with China. They failed with China. I won't go into it in detail, but everything they did with China failed. And then they misused the American dollar. And they cut everything away, right? they pull everyone away that if they use the dollar, we're gonna mess you up. Okay, that forces other countries like China to move toward, now who they messing with? They messing with China. If it was Japan in the 98, and if it was the Tiny Tigers 2 years before that, Malaysia, Indonesia, and all of them, they could have pulled it off. But this is, what's her name, that got bigger than them? The biggest banks in the world now is in China. There's no Israelis in China. There was a few back in the 30s, but no. It's Chinamans all over the world. Chinaman, you go get China food, you can get it right here, right? It's not the same food as in China because Chinese food in America is different than Chinese food in China. Like the lady told me at mainland, down, said, I knew it was, I said, is this the same food that you eat in China? She said, no. She said, you wouldn't like it. The food, you know, according to their taste, you wouldn't like Chinese food in China. You know, this is Chinese food made for Americans. It's semi-Chinese, you know, but okay. So here's what they got. They got the Chinese on one end. They got Venezuela, right? They got Iran. They even messing with Russia. They're forcing they're forcing them to have an alternative currency. They're demanding, you got to have an alternative currency, right? Because I'm gonna mess with you. Of course, the other day, it was actually yesterday, the Europeans signed a big thing with China as far as, trade. Of course, Chinese got to watch it. If it's a dirty trick, that means the U.S. would tell Europeans, build up China, then pull back. And it'll be built up all that manufacturing, and then they'll cut off the trade, and China will have invested in all of that production, right? Don't worry, they ain't gonna get away with it. Whatever it is, here's the thing. The way the world is now is that they have failed. They failed on a trade issue. They failed in their contact with other countries. What is that? Not NATO. Yeah, NATO and all of them. The World Trade Organization. World, they pulling out everything. When they pull out, China goes in. Big smile, right, they got it going on. Okay, now, the mistakes is that they won't be able to do the Hitlerianism. Why? Because Hitler was a fool in some cases, but he was smarter than this guy. Because he was his own dictator. They're dictating to him, so he got to do what they say. Right? He got to, okay. Whatever Hitler was doing, it was for Deutschland. Although he read the same speeches, he couldn't pull off the same, and it's a different environment. Therefore, his Hitlerianism had failed. The war between the people have failed. Their idea was to show a black man being treated so miserable, it's unbelievable. Now they thought, yeah, people would come out, and they had it down pat, but people came out with more sympathy than they thought. more sympathy and more camaraderie than they thought. Because they didn't add the effect of, what is the effect of what we're feeding these people on television, and what do young people think about, right? About each other and everything else, right? They didn't add that into their equation. They miscalculated on everything that they did. They miscalculated on trade. They miscalculated on military, because they said, this is a key point. Donald Trump, the Zionists, they thought America would react just like the Israelis do. Example, if Israelis have a war, usually they get behind each other. If I go and I call the American army and military to be with me, they're going to be with me. They didn't do it. That was their main mistake. Whether it was Mad Dog Mattis, Colin Powell, every other general said no, right? Look what you pinheaded people have done to my boys. That's the way every one of them old crackers, they have that in them. They didn't calculate that. They miscalculated. Our boys is back here crazy, and I'm a little half crazy myself, and I was a general, so I know how they are. You don't feed them. You don't clothe them. You throw them out like trash. Hey, man, no general. And all the big ones told the ones that was under them when they was big, like Colin Powell, everybody else was under him, right? Joint Chiefs of Staff, and everybody else was under him, because he was Secretary of State after a while, and the ones under, he took it all the way down. Not he took it, but all of them felt the same way. Even the one that Trump had walking out with him the night he run all the people off, he had a general walking out like, shh. That boy said, I made a mistake. All the big boys over him said, man, you can't do that. We're constitutionalists. We're not going to let them bums. You know what they do to us? Look at what they do to us. They think we're a bunch of meat-headed punks and fools. That's what the generals are saying. They're lucky the generals ain't moved on them like they do overseas. You get to messing with them too long, you know what I mean? They'll actually move on your behind. You know what I mean? What did they do to Don? No, man, we ain't with you. We're not with you. They failed on that. That's a big point. On trade, they failed with China. What are they so mad at China? Because the main thing is because China did not become what they call an open card-carrying capitalist. And they didn't go for democracy. Chinese say, what does the man say about, you ask, 95% of the Chinamen lack what they got. Do 95% of the people lack what they got here? The guy on the thing say, you think the people gonna trade 95% for 35%, like 35% of the Americans. Yeah, so anyway, yeah, is that
No, this is your daughter. You want to pick it up?
Yeah, you can pick it up, but no, I just push the button and yeah, she can call back later. Oh, is she talking?
Yes.
Oh, okay. Yes?
Hey, Dad.
Uh-huh.
Where are you?
I'm in the masjid.
Oh, okay. Just wondering.
Oh, okay. See you a little later. I'll be back at the house in a minute. Okay, all right. So anyway, what stage looks like, they failed on every point. They failed on every point. Can you imagine? That's a total failure. Okay, now, we have certain opportunities here. We have America all stirred up. So, what we're going to suggest to our brothers is that this is our time to act. This is our time to act. We're going to act anyway. But let's see here. We have to play the part. We already have our part kind of hooked up. It's kind of like the hero, stuff like that. And remember, we talked about writing a piece in this for everybody. Okay. That's what we're doing. And we're assisted by history in this. We forecasted, we predicted it, we expected it. It's not a surprise. But now we have to implement. Remember, influence, direction of change? That's where we are right now. Influence, direction of change is not done by one person here and there, you know. It's done by a group that's trained, and they can carry out instructions, and they can adapt and adjust to certain levels of conflict on their own. They're not autonomous, but they, you know, they have a training where they can adapt and adjust to things without somebody calling them on the phone or sending them a message. They can look around and they can adapt and they can adjust. That takes, where we are now is we're at the stage of implementation, but on a pretty good level. Okay. Technically, we're not there yet. We're not there yet. We're there psychologically, but we're just not there physically. We've been ready for this. We've been waiting for this. But Boss Man has been there trying to make sure that we don't reach that point. But Boss Man bites the dust. I might have showed y'all this before. It's just from one of the Islamic programs. It said Imam Musa, the U.S., they got crossed out role, and Zionist regime's role in the Syrian war. That's what I could show it. You could see that. That's what they want me to talk about. That. That's just a note. You see what I mean? That they want. We're having a big conference. Why do they want an African American to talk about Syria and these things that we're not directly involved in? Number one, they know we have the ability. Number two, they know how we have the ability to harmonize all the differences between, if you got Yemenis here, you got some other Arabs, some over there, you got this group. They all have their own agenda. You have to harmonize that and make them all feel, right, a part of the same struggle, and that we cooperate together to benefit each other and the movement. This is a missing characteristic in most of the people, or even the leaders. The leaders, they charismatic, they come to power by appealing to the people in their group or drawing the people together that have their ideas. But when it gets to dealing with people that have other ideas, they don't have it. That's why we have to get to Iran right away. I don't know if y'all remember, I had told some of the brothers when the president and some of his staff was having trouble last year. I went to them out at IEC and I told them, have I ever misled or misdirected, or have I always been truthful and helpful? I said, yes. I said, well, y'all get me over there and I'll straighten this whole thing. The principalist, the president, the foreigner, they not jiving together. I said, I'll put it together for you. That's what I mean today. This is not arrogance, but that's one of the things that they need, and they need it badly. Back to Syria. Why would they asked me to do it? Because they knew who I could do it, and everybody would know I don't have nothing to do with it. I don't have no, you know what I mean? I don't get no gain. I'm not on that team or that team. I could talk about that as a neutral personality and tell what is called our view of the truth. And we're going to tell it in a way to where it harmonizes all the people. Why do they know that? They know that because of the years of working here. And they know all the conferences before over there. And they know that we would speak at last, just like with Dr. Siddiqui. That's the same thing. I speak last or just before the close of Dr. Siddiqui or whoever it was. At these, that conference was set up like all the other big ones we had. And we come up and we put it together where everybody feels like we're all together in this, right? And it's all these different types of people. You see what I mean? And they all leave feeling like, yeah, man, if you win, I win. If you win today, I don't lose today. I'll win tomorrow. You know, so if the wind's blowing your way, we don't gonna stand in front of there with a big signboard trying to block the wind coming to you, right? We're gonna turn it that way, and maybe we loan you a few sails or whatever we can. Push you on out, right? That's where we are right now. So I'm going to redo this because I had designed this talk for the brothers in Iran. And the point that I want to make is that, I'll give you an example. This is Niagara Falls. I think this is Sheikh Safarazi. This is Ayatollah Mahdavi Khani. They don't have their turbans on. This is Javad Larijani. This is one of our brothers from Berkeley. This is Khorasani, who was the ambassador to the UN for Iran in those days. When I was at the Daftar, this is our brother from Berkeley. When he translated what I was saying to Mahdavi Khani, who was head of the combatant ulama in those days. That means the fighting ulama. Imam Khomeini disbanded all the parties because he didn't want, he said parties. It's going to be hard enough getting anywhere if you got cliques. But parties, you got a whole party, you got this idea and they got that idea. Technically, he didn't say it, but you'll be like Americans. You won't put the country first, you'll put your party first. Which, what do they do here in America? Tell the truth. They put and they can't get nowhere because their party is first. But anyway, so at the Daftar, a couple of years ago, they said Hossein Nadari, which is this brother right here, he maintained the students. I used to go by his house. Every other day we used to talk all the time. Because Berkeley was a hot spot, and Berkeley managed a lot of the Iranians. You know, the student organizations, they all was in perfect contact with each other. And Berkeley was probably the center in the U.S., UC Berkeley. So this brother came after another brother who was very good. And Javad Larijani, there was an incident called the Seventh of Tyr. You Iranians know what that is. The Seventh of Tyr, when 72 people were martyred in Iran. The Seventh of Tyr. That was one in 81. That was one of the, when I spoke into a Dwinell Hall, Javad Larijani was, he was, the student spokesperson, that announced me speaking. When I got up to speak, everybody was, you could tell the sisters, they said, and they was crying. They've been, all those people, they was worried, will the revolution survive? It was just all over everybody's face. Remember Iran, when they choose a president, he'd get killed. And a prime minister, they was blowing up people by the day. I mean, that was a bad season. And the people was wondering, will our revolution survive? That was on all of their mind. It wasn't on my mind. I said, this boy gonna hold out. And I transferred that to them. And like one of the brothers said, he said, Imam Musa, because see, I was a little older than they was, and I had been through this other thing before. So I was at least 10 or 15 years older than all of them. But that's like 100 years older in the struggle, Yeah, it was like a senior citizen almost, but with the history. And when I talk to them, this is the way I talk. So I encourage them, and like one of the brothers said, he's one of the main brothers over there now, he said, Imam Musa, you used to sound like a parent to us, and you would say, everything is all right. We're going to make it through this. And they appreciate it. I mean, they appreciate it. When I go to Iran, when the real crew, the sky's the limit. But now the officials, some of the officials that was with them too, they got their clique and their stuff. This is what we got to do. Whoever the foreign minister and all them guys are, they have to go right away and give Ahmadinejad a big hug. Big hug. Big hug. You gotta go over and do it. Okay, you wanna be working with Ahmadinejad, or you wanna work with the Shaitani Bazur, the great Satan, boss man? Which one you wanna work with? Which one you want to run your country? Would you rather to be under the guidelines of Ahmadinejad or under the guidelines of Uncle Sam, boss man, or the Saudis, or the Netanyahu? If you make the wrong move, you working with Netanyahu. You got to outgrow that. This is one of those times when unity and harmony is not an absolute, but it is wajib, it is necessary for you to work together and start liking each other. Don't be Americans. If you be Americans, boy, you're going to get a good whooping. Maybe not, because Allah looking out for you. Can you imagine after the war, after all of those martyrs, look at how good Iran has been doing. Oh, well, we got this going on, that going on. But everybody else, would you rather move to Afghanistan then? If you don't like Iran, move to Pakistan. Move to Pakistan. Get your butt out of Iran and go to Pakistan if you don't like, if you're so bad. Or go next door to Iraq. Go to Iraq. Get on out of there and go to Iraq. If it's so bad, yeah. Y'all done had it good. I'm not making a joke. I know how hard y'all working. But I know another thing too. is they got you under so much stress that you're not thinking about the big picture. You're thinking about day-to-day work and survival. That's what the monster put pressure on you. So you'll block up and start blocking. Instead of throwing punches, you close up and start blocking. And you lose focus on the fight. So that's why I won't mind coming to Iran, spending a couple of weeks. Maybe we'll bring one of the brothers with us from here, and they'll record everything. And we'll just run around, and we'll give you a picture of Iran from the outside, so you know what you're dealing with. You see what I mean? Because they won't know what, they don't know, the people are just, they got their mouth dropped open. What's going on in Iran? Man alive. It's monstrified. It's as big as Allah opening the water up so they can walk through on dry land. It's miracle. It's miraculous. But if you're there every day, you see the negativity. Like, oh, you see that brother ain't no good. He stole $5 from the box. Or they don't see the good in each other. Right? If you talk to many of them, they don't see the good in, they don't know what they're doing. They don't realize, and they talked about Rouhani and them. Rouhani don't have enough sense to tell them. You know what? He may not know. He may be fat-headed. He could close-minded. Some of the big people, and one of the brothers told me the other day, he said they might be grooming so-and-so to be president. I said, well, that would be good. I said, I gave a lecture several years ago saying that he shouldn't be groomed for president because the way they was treating him over here. Oh my goodness, I thought he was running for president of the United States. Remember them? I said, good God Almighty. And he grinning, he just like he swallowed an order or something. He's so happy. Remember them days? But now boss man and showed him where he coming from, right? Hopefully he didn't pick it up. So now he'd make a good president. Because one thing he know boss man. Okay, anyway, so that's why we want to present to the people of Iran nothing illegal, nothing crooked, nothing. This is a great period in history. And we want to help ourselves and everybody else write in the best rendition, the best narrative of this historical period. Yeah, that's what we want to do, no doubt about it. Let me go on and get toward closing, because I'm calling homeboy back and ask him, and we'll go over this same subject. So I'm not gonna mention what some of our needs are here. But anybody that's listening to this would think, now, what would they be going through in America if they're on our team, right? If America treats us like this on the outside, how would they treat them and they inside of America? And what would we need to deal with our situation, or what would be helpful? Okay. Hollywood Productions, we done went through all of that. Who would benefit? Teach, yet remain credible. It's a delicate balance. Teach what we have learned, but still remain credible. That means that we have to elevate the people, like we said, step by step. Because if you drop it all on them with one time, you'll sound like Alex Jones or somebody, which really worked for them. Yeah. So we have to, if we have to bring the people along. Remember, the people are where they are because of their environmental circumstances. Okay. The theme where we want to go. So if y'all wonder if all of this is, makes Boss Man so mad, why am I still here? Why am I not assassinated? Because we recognize this for decades, and we had program after program, lecture after lecture, and we called them by many names, but we had the grand jury effect, and we had this, that, and other. And this story we talking now, we done told it over and over and over and over again on that gadget. And if anything happens to be, see, that was a mistake. That we just, and ain't nobody listening, right? That's what. But if something happens, guess what will become of interest? All of a sudden, all of that, right? they trapped. They can't do nothing. They trapped. I'm not trapped. And they trying to get us back in Oakland and showing us half naked and getting arrested, right? All they did, they wanted me to get mad at them slow colored people and divert our attention, right? Tell the truth. You can see it. We're not stupid. That's why we just look at it and laugh. Why we're not going to focus on Oakland? We're not going to focus on Oakland when the whole world needs focus right now, right? It's a simple diversion, a stupid diversionary. If we went for it now, it would be work. Remember, Boss Man throw bait out all day. All he's doing is got his right. He's just throwing stuff out, whatever he can. And if you bite at anything that he throws out there, you know what I mean? If you swallow it, he gonna pull you in. He use big bait, little bait, ugly bait, pretty bait. He just started throwing stuff out there. If you bite at any of it, you're in trouble. Okay, so like we say, we're very fortunate. But this is a trained type fortune. Yeah, that we trained ourselves to be fortunate. So we anticipated that we would be here, right where we are now. We anticipated it long. You could tell all the time. Okay. So we anticipated it. So if we're going to be here, we had one thing we wanted to reach, and that'd give us a sign for the future. We wanted to reach 75. We didn't want to reach 75 because we was all right then, no matter what, how long we here. But I said if we hit 75, then that may be a sign that we're going to get to 100, and that'll give us time to do what we want to do. And that's the way we feel about it. So we don't have a 2-week plan. We had a 25-year plan, right? We had a 25-year plan. And if we don't move from the spot we're in, if we don't go up nowhere, we stay right where we are. Just because Boss Man is up here, where's Boss Man going? What is his direction? He's going down. We could almost just wait on him. We could almost just, get a toothpick out and we could run. Boss Man, that fool, he tried to run the clock out on us. That's what he was doing. He's going to run the clock out. We harass him for so much time. They got their paperwork. They can only last so long. They'll get despondent. They'll get ugly. They'll get crazy. they'll get mistrustful. They won't trust nobody, so they can't do nothing because they won't. And he got the clock running. Well, how long they last? Let's see that. Shoot, the longest one lasts 6 years. The longest one we got on our record, they last 6 years before they became despondent. Some developed terminal illnesses, psychological, you know what I mean? They got all that stuff, what they did to all the brothers. Said, this nigga ain't gonna last no more than, and then they kept going on and on. Well, he lasted 10 years, that's out of the question. Now it's 15 years, and we study rolling. You see what I mean? Boss man tricked himself because he didn't realize what we said we meant is protracted, long range, right? It ain't no 2-week struggle. It's not an instantaneous struggle. We're not opportunists. That's why we don't have to run down there and grab all the white kids and say, let's get going, right? Because a protracted struggle, right? Opportunists would do that. That's what opportunists would do. Tell the truth. Boy, it's hilarious to watch the cast of characters. Every time something happens, here they come. You know the cast of characters, some niggas. And they give them same old speeches. It's made in Hollywood, and all of them actors. And they know they actors, you see what I mean? Ain't nobody like, I don't know what I'm doing, I don't know who they is, I don't know who. And what's the name the other night, the old guy with the scarf? Boy, he gave a talk, said, and the old guy on CNN was crying. Ugh. And then the other lady, Brooke something or other, I don't know what her name was, a white lady on CNN. She was crying. You know about how they doing niggas. And I started to swear off TV. After Nancy Pelosi came up with a kente cloth on and took a knee, I said, that's it. Everybody's at the party, the dumb party. Reverend so-and-so is there. Oh, even Messy Jesse was back there in the background. I said, an old bald-headed Negro lawyer, they ought to get rid of him. You know what I mean, right? The cast of characters. I said, man, wait, tell the truth. It's a movie, and they all on the same, you know, what part you playing? Same part I played last time, man. I like that part. All of them. It's hilarious. They didn't think that we would last this long. Not only last this long, but be full of energy and optimistic. Remember when I was in the hospital, they knocked me in the head, what did I say? The only word I said, optimism. So, optimism. I couldn't say nothing else. Can you imagine? Your brain is not even functioning where you can't figure out but 2 words. You done forgot all your prayers because you can't remember. I can't pray. Hell, I don't remember no prayer. Bismillah, I don't. Can you imagine? I don't even remember none of it. Right? And everybody can see that. Okay, they didn't think nobody would go through all of that. You know, they didn't think nobody, they don't have it on the record. Study the black nationalist records and they don't have nobody. Martin Luther King got sad. All they did is throw a couple of rocks at him, and the Negroes, his friends, left him. Hey, you're going to have to do this. Boss man mad at you, right? Talking about the war in Vietnam, the Negroes. And they just backed away from it, and he was sad. He was despondent. And when them white folks in Chicago started throwing stuff at him, he was so sad. He said, these is northern, that's what he meant. These are northern white folks. And they make them southern white folks look like, hey, I like them, you know, right? Hey, that ain't nothing. I'm not saying it ain't nothing, but it wouldn't be nothing for now. You see what I mean? In order to get where we are, that has to be just part of your breakfast. Cheerios, stuff like that. Anyway, let me move toward a close. Like I say, I'm not going to say some of the stuff, but you have to remember, everything that happens, you got to remember, just 2-3 days ago, my nephew was calling every 10 minutes. We gotta have, and he don't call no more. Why he don't call? You just think about it. What, he got called out of town and he couldn't call me in a hurry, said that, Uncle, I ain't gonna need you for another 2 weeks or 3 weeks. I'm on a hot, right? So I don't have to sit here and try to figure out what happened. Especially when you anticipated it. Yeah, you anticipate all that stuff. Let's see what else we got. Strategic alliance. Panic by the numbers. Panic by the numbers. Okay. 2 teams. I'll mention that a little bit. The 2 teams are like, they used to call them neocons, those type of people. That's one team. The other team is let's call it the Obama team, right? No, it's okay, because this is what those teams, this is what's playing out now. On they're 2 oppressors. They just have a different view of how we're going to oppress the people. The one team that's causing everything right now is the old-time, what do we just call it, neocon team. Netanyahu, Saudi Arabia was up there. Remember how Saudi Arabia was in love with the Bush family and all that? That's the same bunch. Okay, that's them. Then you got the Pelosi now. I call them Pelosi, Obama now. They're not even hypocrites. How about we call them Munafiqrats or something instead of Democrats? Yeah, we figured out that name last month, I think. Munafiqrats. Yeah, we'll call them Munafiqrats. They're Munafiqrats. This is ridiculous. I'm telling you, it's ridiculous. If you think I'm mad at them, you got the wrong. I am not. I am just, when I want to laugh, I look at them. It's unbelievable. Here's Miss Pelosi. She's from San Francisco, too. Doggone neighbor of mine. Right? Doggone neighbor got a kente cloth on. I said, man. And all the Negroes is with her. All the Negroes is with her. So anyway, let's see. The other thing that kind of messed this period up for them is the coronavirus. That threw a lot of the stuff off. That caused a divergence in what's going on right now. And I'll just mention a little bit of that and then I'll close. The coronavirus destabilized what's going on right now. Now remember, January 1st, 2nd, 3rd, we was going to leave here by the 4th or the 5th. Remember, we bought that little white car from the guy. We was getting ready to go in, back to California. Then, Qasem Soleimani was martyred. Okay, that's right up our alley. And everything we've been waiting for, so that's it. That's why they've been going to, and that's how it played out. Millions of people came. Everything he wanted to do, it happened because they martyred him. It didn't have nothing, right? All the unity and harmony and everything. He might have been at the end of his rope anyway. He was now well known. He couldn't have done much more, right? Yeah, and Allah sent him home. at the high point of his career. Same thing with Brother Muhandis. Okay, then right after that, what was something, coronavirus, just a couple of things happened. But the coronavirus, this threw off everything that they was, for instance, the retaliation you mean from Iran? Oh yeah, when Iran hit the, but see, you got to look at it like this. What happened with Soleimani and what happened with coronavirus threw off their timetable a lot. They're already making mistakes with China, big mistakes. They done already made them technically. They done made the mistakes with Iran. We're gonna go to war. And nobody, the Japanese said, man, we ain't gonna get with y'all. We know, and the phony evidence they would always present, they said, hey man, nobody told the United States, hey, we don't believe that stuff. But some of them almost said that. We don't believe it. Until, can you imagine the thing that you can't go to war with Iran without our permission? Right? And I think they done throw it out the window, but so what? Look how big a deal that is, because they know it's a bunch of jive. Okay, so we couldn't go back right in the middle of all of that. And then the coronavirus stopped everyone in their tracks. In everything it highlighted, because remember they were saying, we want to see how this president handles, da-da-da-da-da. Everything come his way, he blew it. He blew it. He blew assassinating the man, and the man is going there to make peace. You right? He's going there to make peace, and he assassinated. Okay, or to discuss, or to mediate the peace process that they got a thing going. They asking you coming over and mediate for us, because you're good at that. Okay, they martyred him. Then this coronavirus is special and unique. However it happened, whether it was planned, it don't make no difference. It have the effect of changing the whole environmental circumstance. And it's a further manifestation of defects. That means whatever defects was in what they was doing, and it was already manifested. But this super manifested the defects. And Don can't help it because he want to be popular, and he jumped on the TV every day. And all of a sudden, the things start going, his popularity started going down, and he kept talking, and the people are saying, boss man, you just gotta be quiet. And the people, that's what they're saying on TV. They're saying that the man gotta, and he's arguing with everybody. Yeah, now they in it together, but the press is in it with the other boys, not them. The so-called liberal press, which they ain't liberal for niggas. They liberal for them. The press is part of the other crew, right? So they got the one crew that steal elections and do all of what they want to do. And then they got the other crew, no, we should have freer elections and stuff like that. Okay, they on one team, but the coronavirus, unbelievable. The country comes to a stop. You see what I mean? This comes to a stop. And then all the things that you have to do with that, and that boy gets on TV and keep rolling, and he say one thing, and old Dr. Gucci, whatever his name is, come up and say something else. Now they can't. They asked, the white folks asked the other day, where are they at? Are they in the witness protection program? That's what the white folks, the news. They asked Dr. Gucci and the white lady with the scarf, Are they in a witness protection program? In other words, can they come out? You notice you ain't seen them much. They get to slip out every now and then, but they not. So it's not only that. It's that the white folks tell them, well, you can't come out and laugh and talk, or your stuff gonna go up. Y'all done watch this thing go. It's just going up. It's going up, 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 up. And now he gonna have a meeting down there in Oklahoma. Okay, fine. Yesterday, none of the white folks was with him had on masks. They stopped where they we no more. Okay, so that's okay. Allah may send them all to Boot Hill with coronavirus. Okay, it's okay. But I'm saying is everybody's looking at that. Now they don't have no credibility. We have credibility. We have an opportunity to really, when we talk about make America the good, we have the chance. It's right here in front of everybody. That's all we want to do. We don't want to do nothing else. America the good. Why? Because Allah done presented us, like, you think about it. Look at what Allah done presented us with. Right? That's like a gift from Allah. If you sit there and plan, well, I believe this is going to happen, I believe that's going to happen. And guess what? Bam, 9 out of 10. That's not bad. That's not bad. So, and then the attitude of the people. This is an optimistic period. If we can organize ourselves the right way, we can make a good contribution. Starting last week, starting last month. In other words, from now on, we're not waiting for anything. We never have been waiting for anything. We've always been doing what we could with our resources. But just like what we did with Iran, we put heat on them so they would evolve and be ready for this stuff that happens. Same thing we have to do for ourselves. I mean, we're doing what we can, but it's not good enough. It's not good enough right now. We just have to do better. Or we want to do better. I mean, we're not on a time clock or anything like that, but you have to admit that the world then shifted to right where it's an opening for us. And a good opening. It's not a mean opening, or, no matter the white folks is playing or not, they're still out there. And if half of the people, half of the Negroes, half of the Latinos, half of the people out there with the signs, I'm black too, that's what the Latinos, you're right, hey, this is an opportunity, this is good. The harm is not all the people dying, coronavirus and all that. And before it's all over, they're going to be blaming all the coronavirus on the Americans, the system. Because Trump is the one telling everybody to go out and have a good time, party. Right? Can you imagine? And the numbers are going up right in front of them, just like they said. From 2 weeks from when they started doing it, where they had the red states, and the red states went up from 5 to 50,000, something like that. And the orange states went up so much, right? You see it on TV, the map. You look at California and all that. The only reason they're not in worse shape is because New York has declined. Remember, the New York was really driving it. But all the other states besides New York, man, they're going up. And the fool keep telling, no, we're going to get the economy. And that's good because they'll show that the man want to get elected so bad that he'll kill everybody in the country as long as he can get elected. And then that talk about if I don't get elected, I may not turn over the presidency. That's wonderful. Scripture said it. Well, they said he said it. I didn't hear that part. But that's what the news. Have you been hearing some statements like that? Yeah, that if he's not elected, his people may not. Well, the generals have commented on it. They said we ain't into none of that. Hey, you be out there at the White House fighting yourself, and look tired as he looked. You see on TV he was walking real slow down. Boy, and other white folks make fun of him. And all they got to do is make fun of him, and he'll come back. Ain't nothing wrong with me. He'll eat another burger and some more fries. Preferably McDonald's. He's clear that he likes Big Mac. He don't like that like healthy stuff like that. I don't eat that. Excuse me, I don't eat that shit. I just want that, right? All that lettuce and all on the burger. I want me a big beefy 2% meat and the rest of that garbage they put in there, to make it taste edible. He likes that stuff. He's lucky he can still walk eating all that stuff. But anyway, thank you very much. Akula kali hada, astaghfirullah li walakum. Okay. So anyway, is anything coming in on that?
Well, no one posted any messages during the live feed, but one of the brothers, but you commented on it already. One of the brothers had reached out via Facebook Messenger, and it said, he was from Iran, and he was looking for some clarity because he was saying that, Musa, he don't like us.
That's what he was saying?
That's what he was saying.
Oh. What, he didn't say that, that's from the other day?
No, this, hold up, I gotta go find it.
Meaning that he hasn't been over there?
No, he's saying, the brother that reached out, he says he's from Iran. He
Right.
was in Iran at the time.
Right.
But he was saying that he's from Iran and that he was looking for clarification about, you saying, he's saying that you said you don't like Iranians, that you had an issue with them. And he's looking for clarity, saying, brother, you don't like us?
Well, he can ask, what's the name? Talib Zadi, the people that put me on Iranian TV. If he haven't saw the every time I open up, if he haven't paying attention, I can't help him. If he hasn't listened to the last several talks, I start with Iran, the great miracle. I want to go to Iran, if they ask me, to tell the people how great they're doing because they don't see it. So if he missed that stuff, tell him.
I forwarded the message, like our live stream we did today, since you commented on all of that.
Oh, okay, good.
I forwarded it to him, but I'm just still putting it out there.
No. I'm glad you mentioned it because maybe he's lightly retarded, but he's a good guy. He just hadn't paid attention. That's all.
Yeah, I'm trying to find a message. I had to go back a bit.
Yeah.
I'm having some difficulty tracking it down.
Was there anything else?
No. Oh, here we go. This is what the brother said. I actually have her quote now. Salam, man. How are you? I'm Iranian. You don't want to be friends with us? We like you. You are a friend of Nader Talibzadi. And then he
Yeah.
followed up again a few minutes after that, saying, you don't like us? And so I just went and I forwarded the live tweet.
No, tell him to check out. Give him the thing to check out, and he just let everything speak for itself.
Okay, yeah, I'm gonna message him. I already sent the video.
Right.
So I'll put some text and just say, check out this live stream, it'll clarify all of your questions.
Okay, very good. Right. Well, yeah, if he missed that, let me see. Talib Zadi said, all he do is tell me how much he appreciate, you know, like what we say about Iran and what have you. And that's good though. He'll get the idea. Is there anything else on there?
No, that's,
Because I don't check that stuff much. If I didn't ask here, I wouldn't even.
there was, that's it. Yeah, because everything, there's a lot of other messages that came through, but that was just people, you know, sending chain messages where they say, yeah, you know, check this out, you know, take a look at this video. You know, it's not exactly a message to you.
Okay, so is the number of people and the quality of people picking up, you think?
I think so. Yeah. Like that last one we did, that teaching we did, Tuesday, Monday. Yeah, we were out there Monday, right? Yeah, Monday. Yeah, that got 589 views.
Oh, that's not bad.
It's significantly more than what we usually get.
I mean, sharing it also.
Yeah, we had 9 shares. That's what some of the brothers did. Actually, it was actually the brother, you know, Salver Munch the Heavy. Yeah, he did most of the shares, those 9 shares. Was him sharing with the different groups, you know, the video.
Okay, are the cameras still on?
Oh, yeah.
Okay, right. Yeah, because we don't want to burn up all have a. Okay, are they off?